This is the Samuel L. Jackson logical explanation video. There are many ways to arrive at the solution of this puzzle without guessing. This is just one way. Starting with rule number 1, we know that movies directed by Quentin Tarantino are in 3 of the 4 center squares. These are Pulp Fiction, Django Unchained, and Jackie Brown. We do not know where exactly in the center these films should be placed yet. However, from rule number 2 we know that Samuel L. Jackson's character is alive at the end of all movies in column 2. This means Django Unchained and Jackie Brown cannot be in column 2, so they will end up in either of these 2 center squares. Pulp Fiction should therefore end up in one of these 2 center squares. From rule number 3 we know movies starring Bruce Willis cannot be adjacent to each other. These are Pulp Fiction, Glass, Unbreakable and Die Hard with a Vengeance. From rule number 5 we know that the M. Night Shyamalan movies, Glass, and Unbreakable, can only be in row 3 or 4, and from rule number 4 we know that there are no movies featuring superpowered characters in the corners of the grid. Therefore the only placements for Glass and Unbreakable, where they are not adjacent to each other or other Bruce Willis movies, and are in row 3 or 4, and are not in the corners, are in these 2 positions. Since Samuel L. Jackson's character must be alive at the end of all movies in column 2, we know Unbreakable should be placed here in column 2, leaving Glass here in column 4. The only place where Die Hard can now go, without being adjacent to another movie starring Bruce Willis, is here in the top right corner. From rule number 4, the only movies in the grid that can be placed in the corners are Deep Blue Sea, Goodfellas, Die Hard with a Vengeance, The Other Guys, and Snakes on a Plane. From rule number 7, we know the Winter Soldier must be adjacent to all movies starting with a D. This would be impossible if both Deep Blue Sea and Die Hard were in the corners. This means Goodfellas, The Other Guys, and Snakes on a Plane are the movies that belong in the corners. Snakes on a Plane cannot go in either of the corners in column 1, because Samuel L. Jackson's character survives this movie. Therefore, Snakes on a Plane must go in the bottom right corner. Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas must go in the top left corner because it would be impossible to follow rule number 6, where the Winter Soldier and Goodfellas must be in the same row, and rule number 7, where the Winter Soldier must be adjacent to Die Hard if Goodfellas was in the bottom left. This leaves The Other Guys occupying the bottom left corner. The Winter Soldier is in the correct position here, in the same row as Goodfellas, and adjacent to Die Hard. Captain Marvel must also be in the same row, and so must be placed here in column 2. We know Django and Deep Blue Sea are now in the correct positions here, adjacent to the Winter Soldier. Revenge of the Sith and Jurassic Park are the only remaining movies where Samuel L. Jackson's character does not survive the movie. So Jurassic Park must be moved to column 1. According to rule number 5, no Star Wars movies are in rows 1 or 2, so Revenge of the Sith is in the correct position here, in row 3. Leaving Jurassic Park here, in row 2. The only 2 unplaced movies remaining are The Incredibles and Attack of the Clones. We know from rule number 3 that Attack of the Clones must not be adjacent to Revenge of the Sith, and so The Incredibles must be placed here, leaving Attack of the Clones in this final position. If we check logic now, we'll see the logical is solved and without any guessing.